What's going on, YouTube folks out there? Long Out One here. There's a link over there, and while I'm sure a lot of you guys tuned in to hear me spill out another rant, you do yourself more justice by just clicking on the link. What disturbed me the most about this incident, and I know I have like a racial radar, anything that has any hint of a racial issue in it, I'm on it. And I know in a lot of ways that does me more harm than good, but I found it odd that of the two EMT drivers, the one who has the scuffle is the black guy. The white EMT driver gets pulled off to the side. Now, there may have very well have been a scuffle of some sort. And according to authorities, or according to the reports, the police dash cam has that information. So there really may have been a scuffle prior to that. But my whole thing is, if there was a scuffle, and if this EMT guy is pretty hefty, pretty big fella, you know what I'm saying? If he did, in fact, assault a police officer, that man needs to go to jail. Maybe there were extenuating circumstances, things that led to the decision making from what I saw in that video. But as far as I can tell, there was no altercation beforehand. The video seems as if it was done right after they were pulled over, more or less. The black EMT driver, from what I recall, was inside the vehicle, and the white EMT driver was outside. Now, again, we really won't know, will we, until if they ever do decide to release the police dash cam video. But from what I gather, the white EMT driver gets to have a nice conversation, and the black EMT driver gets yoked up. You can't even really call it a yoke up, but he gets physically confronted by two sheriff deputies, looks like, or highway troopers, or whatever the hell they were. They were cops, more or less. And all the while, there's a patient in the back. Maybe at the end of the day, that could be a reason why they let him go, but I have never, ever in my experiences with police officers and all of the videos that I've seen on the news and here on YouTube, never, ever, ever in my experience can I recall a police officer telling someone that they are under arrest and then go back on their word. Once an officer tells you that you are under arrest, it's pretty much cut and dry. You're under arrest. But for whatever reason, the guy told his dude he was under arrest, had a scuffle with him, I guess, to put the handcuffs on him, and for whatever reason decided against it. And from what I gather, the EMT took its patient on to wherever they had to go, and the police went about their way. And from the investigation that I read, no one was even charged yet. They're sitting there investigating to figure out whether somebody should be charged. But I have to say, at this point, unless you can honestly show me where this EMT driver sought to assault this police officer, I don't think there's a case to be made. And I think that the officers at hand, if it does play out that they had no real reason to even get into a scuffle, they should be punished. That is my that's my opinion. They should be punished, because at that point they are overstepping their bounds, and that is the only reason why I could see them letting this man go. They recognized at some point or another, maybe it was his great hulking size that let him know, hey, I ain't going to be able to just do whatever I want to this dude and get away with it. So they let it go. That to me is telling of someone who knows that they are wrong and decided better not to make the situation worse by actually booking him and trying to put him in the criminal court system. It wouldn't work out in their favor, so they let him go. Now, the police or whatever, they still have to do the investigation, but from what I've seen, this is just another example on how the entire police force, in my opinion, seriously needs to be overhauled. It seriously needs to be overhauled, because you have too many people running around thinking that they can do anything to anybody for whatever reason just because they have that badge. That badge does not give you an excuse to break the law. And yes, as a police officer, you do have to abide by the law. A lot of police officers are willing to forget the law or willing to forget that they abide by the law. And who could blame them? When you had Bush and Cheney in office out there doing what they wanted to do for whatever reason and using whatever cockamamie excuse they had to, yeah, a lot of people in leadership and all over the world, for that matter, are going to feel like they can do their own thing too. Not to get too much into that, but just trying to put some perspective out there. This police officer had his hands around this guy's neck, a relatively large neck. But I found it amusing that he scuffled with the dude after he told him he was under arrest, scuffled with the dude, and maintained his hands around this guy's neck as if that was a way of restraining this guy. I mean, this dude was obviously around 250, maybe 300 pounds of solid muscle. These two grown-ass police officers were unable to subdue him, yet he keeps his hands around this guy's neck as if to I don't know, make himself feel as if he had control of the situation. And even while he maintained his hands around this guy's neck, the dude sat there with fingers pointed, explaining his situation. I don't even know what he was trying to explain. I don't even know what excuse he had or whatever. But at the end of the day, obviously, it must have been well enough thought out excuse that made enough sense for those officers to let him go. I don't know the situation as it plays out, but I would hope that this does get investigated, that there is a little bit more light put on this situation, a little bit more investigative work going into this. I see people have already posted the captain's phone numbers and are encouraging phone calls to be made. By all means, ask questions. Questions do need to be asked. Now, if it comes out that this guy really did assault officers, something that wasn't shown on that video, well, then we do have to do some rethinking of the events, and we may have to look at it as the officers needing to take great praise for showing so much restraint, because I mean, you have to show restraint. I mean, think about it. If this guy had tried to assault an officer, and if he was truly wrong, and that officer told him that he was under arrest, and he resisted and got away with it shouldn't even go to the point where he got away with it. The moment he started to resist, those officers are liable to put a couple of holes in his ass and be totally justified with it. Ladies and gentlemen, I could not understand if this guy is guilty of anything, why those police officers would have let him go free. And from the looks of that video and from the reports, they did let him go free. So that tells me that this does need to get investigated, but I'm going to make the call that this is just another example of police brutality. And it's another example of why the police system, as we know it, all over this nation, really does need an entire overhaul, because police officers, they're losing their way, they're forgetting their boundaries, and we see it more and more every day. And, you know, the more people stay indifferent to this, the more we look the other way, the more we continue with this idea that, you know, if you do anything or say anything or look at the police the wrong way, you're liable to get your ass beat, and it's perfectly okay. The more we allow this to happen, okay, the more out of control it's going to get. And when you got these are two civil servants. You have the EMT, someone who is responsible for taking the sick, the elderly, people in emergency cases to the hospital and to the doctors, and you have the police officers that usually go hand in hand. So when you got these two scuffling, you have to look into that, especially when the guy is let free after the officer told him he was under arrest. All of that needs to be investigated, and I find it very disturbing. But those are my 2 cents on that. You guys have a great day. Peace.